YouTube. Today in the Naughty Librarian, we're going to talk about romance novel tropes. So since it's February, the month of Valentine's Day, I'm kind of doing all videos related to romance novels. In this video, I want to talk about some common romance tropes. Number 1, you've got a friend in me, a friends to lovers romance. For this one, I'm going to go with The Pact by Christina Halley. Essentially, it's about these two best friends, and they decide if they turn 30 and they're both single that they're gonna get married. And it's so great. It's a great romantic comedy series. I really enjoy it. Christina Halley is an awesome writer, writes amazing smutty bits, writes amazing comedy. Highly recommend. Number 2, Sticks and Stones May Break My Bones, an enemies to lovers romance. For this one, I'm gonna go with Wallbanger by Alice Clayton. It's about this woman named Carolyn and her neighbor Simon, who is the wallbanger because he brings home random ladies and then has like really loud sex against her wall, so all she hears is like, because he's just like fucking them into a wall. So obviously they start off as enemies, and by the end of the book they are lovers, and it's delightful and funny, and I recommend. So now that we've gone over Sticks and Stones May Break My Bones, let's move on to Whips and Chains Excite Me, a BDSM romance. So the obvious answer is 50 Shades, but I'm not gonna go that direction. I'm gonna go with The Professional by Kresley Cole. Frankly, because this is a BDSM romance that makes 50 Shades look cute in comparison. This is some extreme BDSM. And I read it after I had read 50 Shades, and I was like, girl, if you think 50 Shades is extreme, you don't know what you're in for. I mean, it's Kresley Cole, and I love everything she writes, and I like this too. I mean, it's the kind of sex I never really want to have, but it's well written. It was interesting. I didn't know people did some of those things, but they do, and she wrote about it. Number 4, I Do! A Marriage of Convenience romance. For this one, I'm gonna go with Roomies by Christina Lauren. This is about a woman named Holland, and she kind of falls in love with this street musician named Calvin, and she helps him get a role in this play on Broadway, except the problem is he's gonna get deported. So, hence, marriage of convenience, and eventually it turns into a marriage of love. I'm very excited for this one. Number 5, Take 2, a second chance romance. For this one, I'm gonna go with Crave the Dawn by Lara Adrian. This is part of her Midnight Breed series, which is essentially vampires who are also aliens, which sounds bad, but is remarkably excellent. This is the story of Mira and Kellen. They were friends as children, and they shared one passionate night together, and then Kellen like split, he disappeared. And then all of a sudden he like waltzes back into her life again in the future, and from there they get back together. So second chance. Number 6, Broken and Mended, a romance featuring people with dark pasts. A good example would be Bared to You by Sylvia Day. Both Eva and Gideon are survivors of sexual assault, and so basically they have very dark pasts. And when they come together, they build a brighter future. Although they are idiots and very, very dramatic, and they're just stupid about each other all the time. But that's neither here nor there. Number 7, Someone Call HR, an office romance. There's a lot of office romances out there, but I think my favorite is No Denying You by Sydney Landon. And honestly, this is one of my all-time favorite romantic comedies, like, in the world. I love it intensely. It's so funny, and it's so sexy, and it's just great if you want something lighthearted and fun. I can't recommend it more. It's so good. Number 8, Wham Bam Thank You Ma'am, a one-night stand that turns into more. A good example of this is Dirty Rowdy Thing by Christina Lauren. This is the story of Finn and Harlow. Their story begins on a drunken night in Vegas where they meet each other, get married, have sex, and then decide to get it annulled the next day. And then months later, they kind of rekindle things. So definitely a very extreme one-night stand, but then it does turn into something more permanent. Number 9, Whoopsie Baby, a romance where the heroine ends up accidentally pregnant. There are way too many of these types of stories, in my opinion. The most recent one I read is Can't Let Go by Gina Showalter, and it's a fun romance. It's part of her original Heartbreaker series. It is her contemporary romance series, and it's one of the silliest ways of a Whoopsie Baby to happen, because they literally have 3 types of protection in place and she's still pregnant. Like, that's not a miracle, that's like a scientific impossibility, but happened anyway. Number 10, Running and Explosions, an action-packed thriller romance. One of my favorite action-packed romances is Burn For Me by Alona Andrews. Oh my goodness, there is so much action in it. It's like non-stop, balls to the wall action movie. Like, I feel like they're very cinematic in the amount of action and crazy destruction that are in these books, and I love it. It's a romance between Nevada Baylor and Connor Rogan, and Nevada is one of my all-time favorite heroines. She is a sassy private detective, and I love her intensely. She is awesome. Number 11, Things That Go Bump in the Night, a paranormal romance. Ooh, I read a lot of paranormal romances, so it's really hard to narrow it down to just one. So I'm gonna go with one of my all-time favorites. I absolutely adore The Darkest Surrender by Gina Showalter. This is part of the Lords of the Underworld series. Essentially, there's these immortal warriors. They opened Pandora's box. So the gods took the demons that came out of the box and stuck him in the warriors. So like they're the keeper of that demon. And this is the story of Strider, who is the keeper of the demon of defeat. His love interest is Kaya, the Wing Shredder is her name, and she's a harpy. And she's one of my all-time favorite heroines. And I really, really love this story because I think both of those characters are like perfect together. And it's a story that I kind of just randomly think about from time to time, so it's a really good paranormal romance. Number 12, Promise Not to Tell, a secret romance. An example of this is The Final Score by J.C. Burton. Basically, Mia doesn't want her relationship with Nathan to get out because she thinks it's bad for his career because he's a football player, and which is stupid, but that's besides the point. So they basically keep their relationship secret from their families and from the public for fear of retribution. Number 13, Fake It Till You Make It, a fake romance that becomes a real romance. I'm gonna go with Tempting the Player by Jennifer Armentrout. Basically, it's a fake relationship set up by a PR representative for this baseball player. So this girl that he gets caught with has to pretend to be his girlfriend so he doesn't look like a giant man whore. And then throughout the course of the book, they fall in love, and it's awesome, and I really enjoyed this one. Number 14, Bodice Ripper, an historical romance. It is a goal of mine to try to read more historical romances because I never usually read them. So I am taking initiative to try to squeeze them in. One book that I definitely want to read is Taken by the Laird by Margot Maguire because it is so bodice rippery. Look at, like, come on. Like, look at this. Look at this cover. It's so, like, cheesy romance, and I love it intensely, so I'm excited to try this one out. Woo, that was a lot of romance tropes. And frankly, there's even more romance tropes you can get into, but these are all the ones that I see, like, pretty much the most. Let me know in the comments down below if there's any romance tropes that I totally missed. Please let me know down below and give me an example. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like. And if you'd like to see more videos, make sure you subscribe. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye!